Let's do this one, the Black Lives Matter in the UK thing.
So if you don't follow British pop culture TV, I don't blame you because I don't either, but there's a programme called Britain's Got Talent, which is a talent show that apparently has lots of regular guests on. It's been going for years, and a dance group called Diversity, won it 11 years ago for whatever dance it was they did. But you can tell exactly the kind of theme that Diversity as a group have regarding just their name before you get to anything else about them. And recently, this week, they did another dance routine on Britain's Got Talent that was very clearly inspired by Black Lives Matter. As you can see from the picture, this is the guy, the lead dancer, who's getting a knee on the neck from a police officer during the routine. So it's not like they're being subtle about it. It's quite on the nose. At some point, they're like, dance fighting with cops with riot shields, and they dismantle the police in the dance, and all is well. It's all sunshine and roses. Everything's great. But I did quite like the way it was framed. It was framed in the sense of a father speaking to his son about these issues. And, I mean, at least that's a good start, if nothing else. But the thing I found weird is like, right, okay, so it's protesting an event that happened in another country, and
why do people care about events in other countries? I, Sargon, who regularly talk about American politics, never concern myself with the politics of other countries.
For some reason, this is something that British people have to be concerned about.
Sargon, you're concerned about it. You've talked about Black Lives Matter consistently. What are you talking about? Let's go see Sargon's videos on American politics. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. This is about Cuties, which I agree, very fucking questionable movie. But that's, put out by an American company, although it is made by a French director and it's a French film. But still, France is in England, so why are you talking about it if you think we should only talk about issues in our own country? Again, Cuties, this appears to be about probably people looting and stuff during protests, if I had to guess.
These rioters.
There we go. That's American politics and related to Black Lives Matter, so why are you talking about it if you think that you should only talk about politics within your own country? Here's the thing about Trump and banning critical race theory in the federal government. Like, that's clearly about American politics. Let's see, here's a video about Black Lives Matter. Here's a video about Joe Rogan and Spotify, which again is more America-centric. Here we have a thing about looting, which I'd imagine is in relation to some of the few people who have taken advantage of the protests and have used it as an excuse to destroy property and loot. Here we have something about Portland. Here we have something about Joe Biden. Do you see? I could go on and on and on and show what a hypocrite Sargon is for saying things along the lines of, well, why are we talking about Black Lives Matter when we are British and this has nothing to do with us? I don't know, Sargon, why are you talking about it every other day? Be less good faith, Sargon. So much good faith from you. It's overwhelming.
Because the framing of the thing is very much,
no, I haven't talked about Cuties. I have no opinion on it. I ain't watching it. And I recognize I've been told the entire point is like, oh, it's about criticizing the sexualization of children. I can understand that. But if the way you're criticizing the sexualization of children is sexualizing child actresses, then I think you've muddled your message. Do you see what I'm saying? Again, that's why I'm not going to talk about it, because I'm not going to see the movie. And because I'm not going to see the movie, I can't have an informed opinion on it, so I'm not going to talk about it.
well, honestly, it looks very white again.
You sent me your question where? On, just so I know, is it a Twitter DM or did you whisper it to me?
It's black and black against white. And the implication, I think, that underpins it
It's not about black against white, Sargon. It's about the police against black individuals. It's not about race war. It's about the fact that black communities are overwhelmingly affected in the United States, more so than white communities in terms of police violence. You're making this out to be like Black Lives Matter is like, we need to fight everyone who isn't the same race as us, and it's not at all what it is. That's incredibly disingenuous.
Is the idea that somehow Britain has the same...
Oh, highlighted in chat. Oh, there it is. I'm trying to figure out a good way to cut my hair for dysphoria relief without making myself a target because of where I live. Do you have any subtle ways you found to feminize your hairstyles? Ooh, that's tough. You're probably going to want to ask someone who knows more about hair than me, because I'm straight up just, like, growing my hair out. I don't know. I really don't know. You'd have to ask someone with more, like, hair experience than I do. I wish I could help, but I don't have any advice. I really don't. I'm sorry.
Racial problems as America, and it is basically the same, and black people are being oppressed by the police in this country. Now, the statistics don't bear that out.
Yes, they do.
Police...
I'm going to get the air conditioner on because this hat's heating me up.
In this country, as the BBC have noted, are more likely to kill white people than they are black people.
No, not more like... Oh, wait, are you talking about the UK? I don't know about the UK statistics, but we're talking about Black Lives Matter, which is a movement that started in the US, and it's typically about US policing. So, I don't know about the UK. I really don't. But apparently they were doing this in terms of Black Lives Matter, which is an American thing, right? If you're in the UK, if you talk about Black Lives Matter, even if it applies to your country in some way, you're probably talking about America because that's where the big policing issues come into play. In the UK, you have far fewer instances of the police killing individuals, period, much less talking about, like, the racial dynamics involved in that.
As with almost all things in this regard, there are studies that suggest that it's the case in America as well. But let's just...
Okay, so he was talking about the UK, but Carl, they're doing a Black Lives Matter performance, which is more related to American policing issues. And people around, like, the globe did, like, Black Lives Matter protests, right? That doesn't necessarily mean they're facing the exact same problem in their own country. It means they're showing solidarity with Black Lives Matter protesters in the States, because it is primarily an issue for people in the United States. I'm not sure about the specific issues facing people in terms of policing in the UK. Not my purview, not something I've looked into. When we're talking about Black Lives Matter, that's not usually what we're talking about.
Assume for a moment we don't need to worry about digging into the stats for that. We know that the stats, according to government statistics, the number of people who are black who have died in police custody in the last decade has been, I saw two figures, 9 or 11. So pretty low. And
don't know if you're talking about the US, but it's higher if it's in the US. Just the past year or so, it's about that. So over the past, if we're talking 20, 30 years, it's going to be quite a bit higher. So he must be talking about the UK, or he's being incredibly disingenuous about what numbers he's pulling from.
Obviously, white people are overrepresented in that, because it's going to be from the white working classes who don't get an easy time from the cops. And this performance, being overtly political on what is just a normal family...
Politics on my national stage? Well, I never!
Like, show about people showing off strange and stupid talents, an otherwise apolitical show.
Sargon, I've never seen Britain's Got Talent. I imagine it's fairly similar to America's Got Talent. It's probably a talent show. People come up and do performances. All art, I should say, almost all art, in one way or another, has a message. Sometimes that message is political, sometimes it isn't, but I very much doubt this is the first time something political has come up on a show all about artistic expression.
Raised a bit of ire, and it got a few thousand complaints in the first 3 days, 3,000 complaints or so. And so the lead dancer...
Oh no, 3,000 complaints in a country of UK population. 66 million people, 3,000 of them complained? Well, my goodness. Someone call the Prime Minister. I don't know, UK things. The point is that you can do literally anything on television, and some blue-haired Karen is gonna call and be like, I disagree with the thing you did. It's not indicative of the audience reaction overall.
Ashley Banjo decided to come out and defend himself. And this is what he's saying. He said on Instagram, art, the expression or application of human creative skill and imagination, typically in a visual form, producing works to be primarily appreciated for their beauty or emotional power. My truth, my platform, my art, I've always tried to create not only to entertain, but also to inspire. That will never change.
Also, Sargon, just the other day, weren't you complaining that you got not kicked off, your episodes of Joe Rogan? We watched this video the other day. You were complaining for 9 minutes about the fact that you and some other people who are deemed controversial, your videos weren't ported on Joe Rogan's podcast to Spotify, where he just signed the $100 million exclusivity deal. So in this case, when Sargon's political opinions are the ones that are being silenced by a private entity, he's against it. But when another person he disagrees with has their political positions platformed, now he's against it. Do you see the problem here?
Our lives begin the day we become. Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter. With MLK Jr. I'm so grateful and overwhelmed by all the support, but also the amount of conversation this performance has thrown up. 2020 has been such a historical year. One day we'll look back and realize it was the start of real change. Sending out nothing but love and positivity to everyone reading this post. Now, that's a good message. That's a good response. But then you've got this separate Instagram response, because the complaints kept coming. And after a while, they'd soared up to 7,581. Now, the complaints are to Ofcom, which is an independent regulatory body.
Oh no, a bunch of white supremacist Karens called the BBC. I'm so upset. Dude, no one cares. No one cares what stupid UKIP voters or whoever's calling about, I didn't like that they did a Black Lives Matter thing. No one cares. It doesn't matter.
And that's a lot of complaints. I mean, it's not like the British public don't complain, but usually they're just, frankly, too lazy, and I'm wondering...
No. People like this who feel like they need to take the time and actually call or write letters to say that they were displeased with something they saw on the television are never too lazy to complain. I've told you guys the story of, like, my grandmother, when I was, like, 4 years old, driving all the way back to McDonald's because I wasn't happy with the Happy Meal toy. These kind of people have nothing better to do than to waste other people's time with their little opinions of, like, I didn't like the thing. I don't like that there's curry restaurants near me now, so I'm gonna vote for Brexit. You know, just dumb shit opinions. These people have all the energy and time in the world to complain, and everyone's sick of it. No one cares, Sargon. Grow up.
One of these people who's to bother sending an email or writing a letter to, you know, you've got to go find out who the local ombudsman is, you know, what group is overseeing whatever is being done here, who is it you've got to go and complain to. And so the fact that 7,500 people had gone and complained about this is significant. That's a large percentage of the audience compared to the normal number of complaints you receive from anything, really. But as you can see, this went up to 10,000 complaints. Again, this was only yesterday. This had passed 10,000 complaints. And so the cast continued to respond to it, and Ashley posted this on his Instagram again. For the people sending this, you do not represent or speak for the great British public. Silence was never and will never be an option. Change is inevitable. Get used to it. Right. So that's sounding a lot more like an ultimatum, isn't it?
Alan, the Lord of Shadows, thank you for following. Sargon's mad that people are fed up with this chud nonsense. Sargon, I agree. It's the time for having honest discussions with people like you has long since passed. You've made it very clear none of you are willing to have good faith discussions about this. You don't actually think all lives matter or whatever bullshit opinion you're trying to push this week to try and push back against cultural progressive reforms. All you want is for people on the left to shut up. And no. Progress is inevitable. The only constant in the history of the world is change. If you can't handle that, then go inside and shut up. You don't get to participate in society anymore. I'm sorry that offends you. Ironic considering you tend to consider people on the left snowflakes. But objective reality, if it offends you, that sucks. Sucks to be you. Deal with it, suck it up, and learn to move on with your life. That's the moral you should be getting here. Really? You're like, I'm offended. As Sargon of Akkad, a man who has literally made jokes about assaulting women or choosing not to assault them because I think they're ugly in my political UKIP campaign. I'm very offended that someone told me that I don't speak for the British public. Ugh. No one believes you, Sargon. Carl. Bud. No one believes this boo-hoo, I'm offended, you were mean to me thing coming from you. You can't throw rocks at other people and then get mad when someone throws one back. And they're not even throwing a rock. They're like holding up a sign that's like, hey, F you for throwing rocks. And then you're like, oh, that sign's offensive to me. Stop. Stop with your perpetual victimhood. It is so tiring, and everyone who has witnessed the past 4 years is so entirely tired of it that we're not even going to pretend to entertain it. So shut up. Nimnix, thanks for subscribing.
I mean,
4
who
months
does represent or speak for the great British public, if not the members of the public, all 10,000 of them who...
All 10,000. The entire population of the UK. 10,000. I know we just Googled and saw that it was 66 million, but these 10,000 agree with Carl, so they're the real British public. Sargon gets more pathetic by the day.
who've decided they've watched your show.
I genuinely, my God, like, I cannot express enough how little I care about the racial makeup of society. I do not care what color people are, what their ethnic background is, or national background, whatever. I do not care. So, boy, just because it hurts Sargon, I would love if he lives to be 120 years old, and he wakes up every day as a 120-year-old man and walks outside, and everyone around him has a darker skin hue than himself, and it makes him greatly uncomfortable, and he goes to sleep every night wondering if he'll wake up the next morning considering, did I waste my life? Society didn't collapse because the racial makeup of a country changed. Everything's fine. Did I waste my life being hateful? And I hope one night he finally realizes, yes, I did. And that's the night. That's the night that he doesn't wake up the next day. Anyway.
They didn't like the fact that it was excessively politicised, and they've written in their letters of complaint. Who does represent the British public, if not the British public writing in their letters of complaint? Is it you? Is it London? Does London represent Britain at large? Because it's not much about London that actually seems to represent the majority of the country.
I mean, it's probably the highest population center in the country, so it's probably where most of the people in the country live, statistically. This is similar to when conservatives in the United States are like, all you people in New York and LA and Philadelphia and Washington, D.C., you liberal elitists, you don't know the real America. You just listed all the places where most of the people in the country live. Do you think they don't count as America because they have more than 10 people per square mile? Real Americans live in Montana, where there are more cows than people, and where if I have a medical emergency, I have to call an ambulance that's gonna come in the form of a helicopter to take me to a hospital 200 miles away. Real Americans live in the middle of nowhere, where the nearest black person, the nearest, oh god, I'm running low on my improv juice. Real Americans live in the middle of nowhere, where the nearest black person, is really far away. I don't have a punchline for that one. I'm getting lazy.
But silence never and never will be, was never and never will be an option. Well, I mean, ostensibly we have free speech in this country, so no one's asking you to be silent. They're just complaining that a talent show allowed an overtly political act to perform, which is not unreasonable. If other political groups can't perform at this talent show and aren't given the opportunity to, why should you be given it? What makes you special? And the final thing is the one that bothered me. Change is inevitable. Get used to it. I don't like being spoken to that way.
I don't like facts being read to me in a way that don't coddle my right-wing conservative attitude. Wah!
I mean, change is inevitable, but it's not always going to be the kind of change you like, is it?
Yeah, get used to it. That's kind of the whole point. Fuck you, Sargon.
I think that a lot of people are complaining that there's a lot of change going on that they really don't like.
I know you don't like it, Sargon, but you're, surprisingly and ironically enough, in this situation, you're the minority. You are. You're the very loud minority. And I know it makes you sad, and it makes you mad, that the march of progress is unrelenting, and it will never stop, and you already lost on gay marriage. You're gonna lose on trans rights. You're gonna lose on police reform. But nonetheless, you're like holding on and like, no, my backward worldview is the right one. You can't show me any evidence to the contrary. Sargon, get used to it. I want you to be spoken to like that every day for the rest of your life. Get used to it, old man. The future is now.
But you obviously do, because I guess it promotes #diversity. But change isn't a constant. It doesn't...
Yes, it is! Yes, it is! Literally, look up any history book. Change is not only a constant, it's the only constant. History has never been like, all right, guys, we got it. We perfected society. We perfected human history. No more changes from here on out. We're gonna get that stuff that they put on puzzles when you finish them, so they glue together and you can put them up on the wall, and we're gonna do that to human cultural progress, and it's just never gonna move, like the Lego movie. Nope! Not how things work.
Just flow in one direction. It can go both ways, can't it?
So Sargon is unironically advocating here for like, but actually, I'd like society to go backwards, please. Nope.
And you better be very careful about the sort of the table you're laying and the seats that you pull up to it, because you may find people who are pulling up who you didn't want at the dinner table, but now you can't get rid of. And
I wasn't gonna advocate for fascist right-wing opinions, but then someone did #diversity and now I'm a fascist. This is really you guys' fault on the left. Bold position to take, but okay.
And I really think this is a concern that you're going to have to deal with in, say, I don't know, the next 10 years or so, if you keep taking this attitude.
If you don't coddle my fascist right-wing sensibilities, I'm gonna do a revolution on you, and then we're gonna force you to what? What's your threat here, Sargon? Please. I'm all ears. Stop being a coward. You're getting real close. You're tiptoeing over your mask off line here. Please tell me, what do you think your plan is in the next 10 years, provided that progressivism as a whole continues unabated? Please, I would love to hear what you think is going to happen, or what you would like to happen, because I have a feeling the second that you're open and honest about that is the day your YouTube gets deleted, because you'll openly be calling for some sort of armed revolution. I cannot believe how stupid you are, that you think you can say this and be like, this is a dog whistle. No one will see what I'm saying here.
And it's not like your co-dancers had any kind of better responses. Even though, like I said, Ashley's original response, the tone and tenor of it were just fine. I found nothing objectionable there, even if I disagree with what he is representing. I mean, yeah, you know, you can perform your art in your own way. If people complain and Britain Got Talent takes action because of the complaints, well, okay. What can I do? I don't care. But this is not the way to respond to it, is it?
Shut up, Sargon. This is so disingenuous. People as far right as Sargon do not care about the method or way in which you talk about progressivism or social justice or civil rights. They do not care. We have seen time and time again, whether it's a protest during the anthem and someone kneels, they boo. That's not the right time to do it. Not like that. If we take time after the anthem and say, like, we're going to have a moment of silence to talk about, to think about, you know, the injustices going on, they boo. No, not that way. When you take to the streets and peacefully protest, boo. No, not that way. When people actually get mad when the police start beating them up and you retaliate, boo. No, violent thugs, not that way. It's never been about... And listen to me, please. If you ever listen to me on anything, listen to me on this. It has never been about the form of the protest. They argue and try and hit at the form of the protest because they know that the second they be honest and say it's not about the form of the protest, it's about the fact that they disagree that people are talking about this, like, justice issue, they know that people will immediately peg them as assholes for thinking that. So they don't do it. So they say, oh, well, we just don't think this is the correct tone, or this isn't the right time, this isn't the right context. It's like a proxy war, because they know if they get into the actual discussion in an honest, good faith way, they will lose. And they have lost that argument. So this is all they can resort to. It's disingenuous, it's dishonest, it's disgusting. These people are awful.
One of them saying, they can kiss my black ass, after saying change is inevitable, get used to it. I mean...
And we all know Sargon, who told a political rival, I wouldn't even RAPE you. He's all about decorum and respect. Stop, Sargon. Stop it. You disingenuous... See you next Tuesday. You're the worst. You're the worst kind of person. And this smarmy, smug, oh, I just feel that they should be a little nicer. No one buys it. No one except your little band of, like, little fascists who like your videos believes it. MMO Addicted with 10 bits. Hey, I'm not happy that like 3 to 6% of the protests involve violence, but I know this is necessary with how effed up America is. I wish it didn't have to happen, but life is sadly not a nice story. Sure. Tucker White 24. Oh, Christ. What's Sargon reeing about this time? He's mad that people were mean to him about not liking Black Lives Matter.
What exactly do you want people to take away from that?
We would like you to shut up, Sargon. We would like you to realize that this is a losing battle for you and you're just making things harder for everyone else. So stop it. So stop. Instead of commenting on politics and making a jerk of yourself with every new video you put on the platform, become like I don't know, like a My Little Pony fan channel. We'll just have Carl Benjamin talking about My Little Pony, and people can be free to like that, and he can have angry opinions on it, like, I don't like this new gen of ponies. Twilight Sparkle is not being held up to the standard that the last gen of ponies held her up to. She is supposed to be Princess Equestria's second in command. This is ridiculous. And he can be as mad about it as he wants there.
There's nothing funny about the tools of capitalism.
Sequester Sargon and his type into talking about inconsequential things so the adults can deal with politics. I'm gonna run for president on that. Idiots like Sargon, by law decree, shall only talk about things that don't matter so adults can actually fix problems. Vote Hannah 2020. MMO Addicted with 10 bits. Sorry, it's midnight here. What I'm trying to say is I wish folks did have to put themselves in danger for stuff to change. Not to say BLM is violent, quite the opposite, if one looks at the stats. Yeah, the protests have been largely peaceful. You didn't know Jake's Trash Can had a stream now?
I want to take away that, you're concerned about their...
Twilight is third or fourth in command. I don't know anything about My Little Pony. I haven't really watched it. So I was basing all that information off of a Jenny Nichols video I watched. So apologies for people who like My Little Pony. I haven't seen it. Do you think he would be complaining if the actress was white? I think he'd be complaining if the actress... Well, I think his avenue of attack would be different. I think his avenue of attack would be like, oh, look, a white liberal with white guilt trying to tell me what to do. That would be his avenue attack then. Like, they're pretty predictable, people like this. Like, oh, you can't be a white person and be an ally is basically how they deal with it when it's something like that.
Concerns, you're on their side. This isn't a political attack at them. It's a political attack at the institutions of another country, because that's surely what it is. The next day, the number of complaints to Ofcom had gone up by 50%. 15,500 now have gone in, which makes
Sargon,
it probably...
We know there's a bunch of idiots in the UK. Brexit won. We know.
The most complained about thing ever. But that is a staggering number of individual complaints that people have leveled because of a TV show. So I'm just saying, maybe it's not time to break out the articles that say things like, "Dear racists, Britain's got black talent too, because this is not going to stop the complaints from coming in. This is not the problem."
Sargon, this is what you still don't get. No one in adult society who is reasonable cares what you think. It doesn't matter. Society and progress will continue. Again, I agree, there are times in history where things go backwards, and those are always dark times. But I think Martin Luther King Jr. said it best when he said, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice." There are times when we go backwards, but in the end, we tend to continually move forward in terms of rights for individuals and making sure people are treated fairly. It doesn't mean we can't retreat into worse times, but it does mean that over time we will fight our way back and continue to progress. So, Sargon, if in the next 10 years things get even fascier, and let's say Trump wins this election and somehow decides I'm getting a third and fourth term, and after I leave, my son is going to become the president, and there's going to be no election. It would require a lot of really BS things to happen, but let's say something like that happened. It would be an incredibly dark time in modern history. But nonetheless, at some point, that would end, and we would continue progressing. It's always how society has worked, and no matter how many times fascist idiots decide to come and try and push the march of progress backwards, it doesn't stop the fact that eventually they will be pushed back and progress will continue.
Problem,
MMO
no one
MMO
ever thought that there was no talent.
MMO addicted with 10 bits. Anyways, last of my bits, going to slumber now. I appreciate you, Hannah. Thanks for being an amazing Bicon. Thank you. Hope you have a good night.
In the black community. That's not what people have been saying. I don't know why the Mirror is doing this, but this is not the question that is being asked, and this is definitely not the answer that people want to hear. This is just you saying we have the cultural authority, the power, the political capital at the moment to make this happen, and get used to it, kiss my black ass, and you're a racist are not good answers.
Oh, Sargon's feelings are hurt because he got called out for being racist. World's smallest violin.
Questions that are being raised here. People do not feel like their country is being respected. When you use an event in another country in order to denigrate this country and
Sargon,
Nothing funny about
all
the
your
tools of capitalism.
like 70 to 80% of your output is about American politics. Like, the hypocrisy could not be higher. Tucker White 24. Granted, I'm no expert on the cultural or political atmosphere in England, and Carl's a failed politician now, but is there really not a more pressing matter than what Sargon's screeching about? Sargon's gonna complain, and he's gonna concern troll and try and whip up his little fan base into a bunch of, like, faux righteous anger about, like, I don't like Black Lives Matter, and in the end, it's not gonna amount to anything. There are better things to talk about. There are more important things to talk about. But not for Carl, because his entire job is doing a grift. It's not like he's going to get into politics. He already tried that, and he failed miserably. So we wind up what we have here, you know? Sargon just being mad and trying to wring as much money out of this, like, anti-SJW grift as he still can. I mean, the dude, this has 170,000 views, but he used to get more views than this. His other channel had over 1 million subscribers, and he's down to 366 on this one. Like, the anti-SJW grift, I don't know if it'll ever fully go away. Just the goalposts on what's considered an SJW will change as they always do. But, like, the days of making a video about Anita Sarkeesian and getting 3 million views and making a bunch of ad revenue, they're over. They are over, and they're not coming back. Sargon has to try and get as much money out of this grift as possible while he can. Because he can't be doing this when he's 60. He just can't. Like, he already looks ridiculous doing this.
the people who live in it, who you call racist, and let's be clear, the left has currently arrived at the position where literally every white person who likes their country is a white supremacist.
No, Sargon. It's white people who are unwilling to look at racial issues in this country and admit that they happen, whether we're talking about the US or the UK. That's the issue. It's not about liking your country. It's about blindly loving your country so much that you overlook serious flaws that are harming minority communities. So the disingenuous way that you're framing this issue, I would laugh, but it's not funny. So stop. Tucker White 24, granted I'm no expert on the culture or political atmosphere in England, and Carl's a failed... Oh no, I read that one already. Was there a different thing that happened? Did someone follow? I thought I heard like a ding, like something happened, but I must have been wrong.
Anyone who wants to actually defend what we have, like our institutions, our democracy, our cultural...
Your culture and your democracy are not under fire, Sargon. You think that your culture is Britain being majority white. That's the problem, and that's not what culture is. Culture is not the racial makeup of your country. You can have naturalized immigrants come in and not only partake of your culture and become a part of it, but add to that culture. That's the history of the United States. And we have a wonderful culture built off the backs of, like, so many different cultures of the immigrants who came in and became a part of this country. That's just going to happen everywhere over time, and that's a great thing. That's cool. That's a very cool thing. Humanity is reaching a point where people can go to other countries relatively easily. I say relatively, I know that immigration is still a very difficult task, but nonetheless, I'm talking about in terms of, like, travel itself. Of course, there are issues with actually, like, having the money to go someplace, but I'm talking about, like, you can get there by car or plane or train or boat. And this is just going to continue. People are going to mix with one another culturally. They're going to have kids. Those kids are going to have kids.
nothing funny about
Like,
the tools of
global
capitalism.
culture and globalization are here, and they're happening, whether you like it or not. It's just down to how we react to that. Do we accept the fact that this is the new norm and recognize that and move forward with the understanding and policy-making viewpoints that this is a good thing, that people are coming together in ways they never have before? Or are we going to try and, like, writhe against it in such a way as to only hurt ourselves, like a dog that's tied against a tree, so they start thrashing to try and, like, get away, but all they do is hurt themselves? And that's what Sargon and people like him are doing. They're trying to run away from the inevitable progress of society, and in doing so, they're choking themselves on the collars that they've built for themselves. Like, it's ridiculous. Devious Chillster with 25 bits. Mr. quote, killed an entire party because of an RAPE joke is telling black people to be nicer in their political comments. Retching noises. Yeah.
And constitutional heritage, all of these things that every other country is completely entitled to defend.
Dude, culture is not like an immutable thing. Culture changes over time. That's a huge part of culture, is how it changes.
My blessing, by the way, there's no reason that people in Britain would not feel the same way. And attacking them on those grounds seems counterproductive at best.
If we're going to talk about counterproductive, again, acting as though culture doesn't change and that it's something you not only can but should expend energy fighting against, that is counterproductive.
And the thing that annoys me about the very way that this is framed is that me saying Britain defending its cultural heritage.
No, because that's not what you're doing, Sargon. You're using that as a dog whistle because you consider Britain's cultural heritage to be in its entirety like homogeneic white people. That's what you consider British culture, and it's just not. Like, I'm not gonna pretend I'm the biggest, like, Anglophile out there. I'm not gonna say I know the most about British culture, but like any country, your culture is not tied to the color of the skin of the people who take part in it. It just isn't.
Its institutions and its way of life is not a racial statement.
It is from you, though, because you've talked about this before, and we've heard you talk about this before, where you talk about the fact that you don't consider, like, non-white Britons real Britons. You said something to the effect of, London is no longer primarily British, and your evidence for this was that a bunch of people in England, a large percentage of those who live in London at this point, are not white. And the reason that you consider, like, why else would you be like, oh, the majority of London is non-British? Why? Because some of the British people who live there aren't white? They're still British, Sargon. You absolute idiot. And you know this. Stop trying to further dog whistle your dog whistles by being like, by the way, I'm not dog whistling. Yes, you are, and your other statements back that up. Isn't the epitome of British culture tea? Does he think tea came from white people? He probably does.
As the left will be the first people to say, well, Britain's always been multicultural, we've always had people of many different races here. Yeah? Then shut up about it. Then
you first!
When I say, hey, I'm interested in being a patriot, I like what Britain is, I like what Britain's done in the world, I like...
Britain's done a lot of bad stuff. Imperialism, Carl. We really gonna have the imperialism discussion? I feel like there's only 3 minutes left in this video, and I don't think we have time to have that discussion.
The constitutional and moral reforms to the world that Britain has been at the forefront
Oh no, he's literally being like, the moral reforms to the world that Britain has... I had to invade those countries, not because I wanted to steal their resources, but because I wanted to promote British morality? No. That ain't gonna fly, Sargon. Stop. The East India Trading Company famously was like, we might make some money on this, guys, but really our first primary goal is to, you know, spread white Christian morals.
of, and when I say that, I'm not just talking about white people, but you will hear that, won't you? That's
yes,
the dog whistle.
because the other words that you have said about this, again, like when you said, the majority of people in London are no longer British, and what you meant by that, literally, was that you were saying, oh, the majority of British people in London at this point are no longer just white people. That shows your hand. You've shown your hand enough in the past that people can rightly extrapolate what you mean now. People are not stupid, Sargon. Let me rephrase. Enough people aren't stupid that they see through this stuff. Come on.
white people. That means white people. That means... No, it doesn't. No.
Yes, it does. You can say it doesn't all you want, but until you successfully explain to someone, what do you mean by British culture that can't be continued even though the makeup of Britain is changing? What about British culture is somehow in some way destructed by these changes in particular? Until you can explain that, yeah, people are going to assume you mean white because that's what you've said in the past.
No one could suggest that Britain's history is not intertwined with other races than white people. No one would suggest that. Would be stupid.
That history intertwined with white people has a lot to do with dominating and suppressing other cultures around the world, though. Quite a different situation to, you know, legal immigration into Britain, changing the racial makeup of the population, which is clearly what you're talking about.
And I'm a product of that history. So I want...
Unfortunately, someone needs to go into the past and do like a butterfly effect thing so Carl Benjamin isn't born. That'd be nice.
So I want to continue that legacy. It's a good legacy. Like, it brought my family, parts of my family, out of slavery. I think that's really good. And so
I think Sargon found, like 1% of his DNA was African or something. And because of that, he now holds on to that and acts like he's able to talk about racial issues as if his family has a high, like, black amount. It's so stupid.
So I get really annoyed when the people who want to defend this kind of legacy of liberty that Britain promoted around the world...
You hear that, Gandhi? We're promoting liberty, now eat a sandwich!
People who want to defend that are not racists. This is
I'm not racist. I just think I think the British Empire was really trying to bring liberty to all those people they conquered, frankly. Oh my god.
completely inappropriate if you think that Britain is a multicultural society and has a multiracial history, whether it's in these islands or elsewhere abroad. If you think that Britain has been affected by diversity, as surely you must, then don't just sit there calling the people who like Britain racist.
It's not because you like Britain, Sargon. It's not because you like Britain. It's because you spend all your time harping on things like Black Lives Matter. Something that is hypocritical in the face of the fact that here you're saying, like, why is Britain's Got Talent talking about Black Lives Matter? That's a British institution. Okay, well, Sargon, you're a British man, right? You're a British dude who has a British flag in the background, who ran for, like, a British political office. So why in the heck would you be talking about Black Lives Matter all the time?
I'm not going to go through this because it is as patronizing and condescending and just flat wrong as you might think. I mean, look at the very first, there are loads of adverts and whatnot on it. Are you sitting comfortably? Then let's begin to think. Oh, thanks, Mirror. I couldn't think before you came along.
Articles? How do they work?
There have been 10,000 complaints about a dance. No, there have been 10,000 complaints about the needless politicization of...
Oh no! An interpretive dance made me feel feelings. I better write an angry letter. Sargon, what political... I would love to know. What about Black Lives Matter do you find to be inherently politically repugnant? Because clearly you think it's not just that it's politics. It's that it's a political opinion you don't agree with, which you've already stated. So what specifically about Black Lives Matter do you find so offensive that it shouldn't be put on television? I'd love to know.
family-friendly television. Just politically neutral, like, just normie content has been outright politicized by a radical ideology that has some...
Hey, could you not shoot me because of the color of my skin? Radical political ideology! Sargon is exhausting.
seriously bizarre views on race, racial interactions, and the structures that were so desirable for the immigrants who moved here. The political, legal, and social structures, institutions.
Hey, Sargon, I hate to break it to you, bud, but, black people in the States, their ancestors didn't make a decision to come here. I don't know how to... I have a bit of a history lesson for you if you want to hear it. It's a doozy.
That were so desirable for those people to come here. You have turned this around and told everyone that these are not only undesirable, but outright oppressive. They're
If you criticize literally anything about a country ever and don't act like everything is perfect all the time, then you hate that country. Galaxy brain.
evil. They are seeking to make white people supreme and oppress black people. That's just not true. It's a lunatic perspective.
That's not what Black Lives Matter is about, Sargon. It's about the disproportionate force used on black individuals. Usually, when we're referring to Black Lives Matter, we're talking in the United States, where we have police violence issues in general, but they disproportionately affect black communities. Thank you to Catalina Gearbox. $10 donation. Sargon pushes the idea that Black Lives Matter means only Black Lives Matter and thinks that Black Lives Matter is a racist movement. Go figure. Yeah, we watched a video a while back where Sargon was talking about, like, why can't I say all lives matter? Because Sargon, that's not what we're talking about. Not what we're talking about, okay? When we say Black Lives Matter, there's an implied also at the end of it.
You have been subverted. You have turned on the very people who led the crusade to free the slaves.
Oh, 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 Sargon, Bud. I understand that Great Britain legally freed their slaves relatively early compared to other places in the world, including the United States, which was one of the last countries in the Western world to do away with slavery. However, that doesn't erase the fact that there were generations and generations and hundreds of years prior where they gladly took part in the slave trade. I'm not saying that you can't accept that they also outlawed slavery at some point, but you need to accept both. Outlawing slavery does not undo the hundreds of years of profiting off of the backs of said slaves. You get that, right? This is like dumb people who are like, you're welcome for freeing you in the Civil War, and it's like, whoa, bud, Whoa, you act like slavery was like a natural like state of being that they had to be broken out from, but they were just there anyway. No, they had to be enslaved first. It's ridiculous.
I will not be surprised if this continues to rack up complaints. I will not be surprised at all. I won't be surprised if you send your own Ofcom complaint and say, well, look, why are you politicizing this? Why is this being shoved in the face of me, my family?
Why are you making me see that my country isn't perfect? Not even your country. This is about America. Why are you making me see that Daddy America isn't perfect? I just want to suckle on Donald Trump's teat and wave an American flag even though I'm British. Let's see, MMO Addicted with 50 bits. Hannah, please watch this. It made me want to puke at how yikes it is. It's just 2 minutes. Okay, depending on what it is, maybe. Oh, it's from an anti-mask protest. Okay, and then The Distant Red with a bit. I'd be down if people who say all lives matter appended something like Native Americans are still oppressed by society and disproportionately killed in police encounters, but it tends to be just white people saying, I matter too. Yep. It's a bunch of narcissistic white people not being able to handle the fact that something isn't about them for 5 seconds. It's very annoying.
My kids when we sat down eating dinner. I didn't choose for this to be the case. I didn't want this. This is not what your program is supposed to be about, especially...
Oh no! You made my kids watch a dance that exposed them to the political realities of the world. I wanted to insulate my children from the real world until they were 18, so when they go out on their own, they have absolutely no idea how to navigate the complicated political landscape we find ourselves in. Oh, does that make you look stupid? Weird.
If you're not platforming other ideologies, if we're going to have to politicize everything, well then, okay, let's hear from some other people. But of course, we won't.
Sargon, you know what this means? It's time for Sargon to put together a dance crew. Cut to montage of Sargon fighting a dance group that's all white supremacists. We're gonna be the All Lives Matter gang. We're gonna pop and lock and teach you folks why actually the plight of minorities doesn't matter. I entertain myself too much with the fake movies I make in my head. There'll be one character that is like so on whether or not they're like a white supremacist or whatever, and then their arc through the movie is like Sargon's the father figure, and he's like, "No, bud, really though, that brown person, I don't give a shit about them, and you shouldn't either." And then at the climax, he's like, "You're right, Sargon. I shouldn't care about people who look different than me." And then he does like the worm or something. Sargon, make that movie. You have almost $1 million in net worth. Please. Mortgage your house to make that movie. I really want to watch it. Devious Chillster with 25 bits. I love how transparent it is that it's always conservatives who are like, keep politics out of this because it shows that their ideas are so flimsy that if you don't keep kids away from it, they won't be conservatives in their head. Yep.
Don't, because this is a special privilege that is being meted out.
And one of the dancers is Doomcock. Ooh, it's Sargon. It's the quartering. And his arc in the movie will be his wife wants to leave him. And she's constantly out getting pizza without him. Ooh, we gotta cast this movie. Sargon, Jeremy. Ooh. Stefan Molyneux. Nick Fuentes. And then Nick can have a subplot where he's on and off with that cat boy streamer that he went on the date with. And then we need like a young, an unknown actor to play the final member who's the young person who has to be turned to like be on the side of Sargon and friends. He's like a really good dancer. He makes the dance crew, but he's not so sure about the political beliefs. Played by Tom Holland. If Tom Holland wasn't such a nice guy, that would be the cast for that. Oh, Doyle! Yes! John Doyle! That's perfect. He's only 21 years old and he's yes, yes. They can walk into the subway. No. We gotta get Jeremy and Sargon talking. And they have like an Iron Man, Captain America dynamic where they like get along but not all the time. And they're like, we gotta find someone. And Jeremy's like, I know a guy. And then it cuts to Subway and they go in ding ding, the thing on the door dings, and we see John Doyle popping and locking, and he's making people subs at Subway, but with wicked dance moves, and there's a crowd like, yeah, go John, go John. This is an origin story for John Doyle. This is, canonically, this takes place before he starts the Heck Off Kami YouTube channel, and this explains how he got to that point. And they're like, and Jeremy's like, I come here to get subs all the time. And Sargon's like, they're better sub places, and Jeremy's like, I know, but I don't have the self-respect to get a good sub. Make this movie, someone! I want to see it so bad. Anyway, Dudes Spankin' Dudes, this sounds like a great fan fiction in the making. Does this movie need Kanye? Kanye can be one of the judges at the dance contest at the end. He's a guest judge. Anyway, did I miss anything else? I think that's it. Okay, let's finish this video. We've reached the peak comedy moment of this video, so I don't even know why we're finishing it, but I guess we should.
Along racial lines, which, to be honest with you, is probably the very root moral conflict that the people writing in and complaining are complaining about. I don't think that there should be any kind of racial preferencing in any of our public life, and this is what these people are doing. Totally opposed to it. But
what Sargon means by that is he doesn't want any laws that correct for inherent bias that exists in society. He just wants bias that already exists to go by unabated. If Doyle got a haircut, he'd be hot. He's a terrible person, but a hot lay. Oh, Doyle's like, I shouldn't comment on people's looks. Doyle's pretty twinky, though, you know? Like, if he wasn't awful and probably a closet fascist, then yeah, he'd be fine.
That's because I'm a liberal. That's because I think that people should be treated on individual.
Liberal! Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Logarth with 10 bits. That's a textbook uppity minority argument, yeah. I ran for UKIP, but I'm a liberal, by the way. Sargon, no one believes you at this point. How can you possibly say that and think anyone believes you?
Level, and we shouldn't be promoting racial ideologies. I'm a throwback like that, but and it's this kind of attitude that got me demonetized. So if you would like to support our channel, you can remember that diversity is strength, nothing but strength. Change is coming. Get used to it. I'll see you in the next video, folks.
Jesus Christ, Sargon. Ridiculous. That's enough of Sargon for the day. Someone make that dance movie, though. Like, and give me a cameo. Give me a cameo in the movie. I don't know who I'd be in the movie. Maybe I'm one of the judges at the end, or a cameo's got to be briefer than that. So I got to be like when they win and the trophy comes out, I'll be the person who hands them the dance trophy. And I'll be wearing this stupid hat, and people who didn't see this will be like, why is the person handing the trophy wearing a stupid steampunk hat? That's my cameo appearance in the movie. Then people in the theater, then it's like, who's that? Who's that in the hat? Oh, that's the person who came up with the idea for the movie. Oh. Can you link a clip? Yeah, go for it. So that's the Sargon video for the day. I don't know how we're gonna top this. We've already almost been here
Nothing
2
funny about the
hours.
tools of capitalism.
Wind Chanter with 10 bits. Open onto a city street, pan down, Jeremy and Sargon talking in front of a sandwich shop. You can see John Doyle making sandwiches in the background. A black SUV pulls up
There's
and
nothing
starts
funny
firing.
about the tools of
John pulls an
capitalism.
assault rifle from the bread rack and returns fire, saving them. Dude spanking dudes. F it, I'll make the fanfic if you want. I mean, I'll read it if you make it. I guess this is the clip of the thing I literally just did. Sargon, you know what this means? It's time for Sargon to put together a dance crew. Cut to montage of Sargon fighting a dance group that's all white supremacists. We're gonna be the All Lives Matter gang. We're gonna pop and lock and teach you folks why actually the plight of minorities doesn't matter. I entertain myself too much with the fake movies I make in my. That is funny. Oh yeah, and then Tate at there's an end credit scene where they're all. I was gonna say they're at a shawarma place, but that's too ethnic for them. They definitely don't want to go to a shawarma restaurant. At the end of the movie, there's a scene where they're eating at some restaurant, and then a Lamborghini pulls up, and the door opens, and it's Tate, and he walks in and he goes, "Gentlemen, I want to talk to you about the douchebag initiative." And that's the setup for the internet chud. Oh no, it'll be the Chud initiative. Gentlemen, I want to talk to you about the Chud initiative. And Chud will stand for something, but it's like they're Avengers. Freaking Out 99. This sounds like a South Park episode, except Cartman is Sargon. Yeah. Applebee's. Yes, they're at Applebee's. Oh no! Oh no! It's Tate pulls up and it's Tate and Ben Shapiro together. Okay, I gotta stop. I'll just talk about this the whole stream. And that's not a good use of my time. Conservative Hyper Ultra Division. Chud. Yeah, that's okay. That's good. That's good. I'd watch this movie.
There's nothing funny
Hannah,
about
if
the
Tate
tools
and
of
Ben Shapiro
capitalism.
were in a room, Tate would kill Ben. Yeah, but that's the fun of it. It'll be like the first Avengers movie where they're all kind of fighting with each other, but at the end of the movie, AOC is the Loki of the movie, and she's trying to usher in a new world order where, I don't know, the police are defunded and the Green New Deal has replaced all other jobs. And the gang has to get together to stop AOC. And then at the end credits, there's like a Thanos moment, and the camera pans up and it's a darkened figure, and then it's Bernie Sanders. I gotta stop or I'll just keep going. No more. Stop giving me ideas or else this will just be the whole stream. Dude spanking dudes. Oh no, I read that one. Wind Chanter. I just want to give Hannah all the money she needs to make all the terrible movies that pop into her head.
There's nothing funny about the tools
That's
of
my
capitalism.
secret, Captain. I've never made a P word wet. AOC changed WAP to be the national anthem.